Hi, this is Tim. Welcome to Tim Can Cook. So today we're going to cook chicken pot pie. Now chicken pot pie is normally made with leftover chicken or turkey. I don't have any leftover, so we're going to make fresh. So this recipe will start out with 3 cups of chicken. This is medium dice boneless thighs. And we'll get that over on the stove in a minute. To that we're going to add a half a cup of small diced onions, half a cup of small diced carrots, half a cup of small diced celery, a half a cup of frozen peas, quarter cup of flour. We're going to cook that down in 4 tablespoons of butter. To that we're going to add 3 cups of chicken broth. The chicken broth, they'll be linked up here at some point. A half a cup of cream, quarter teaspoon of turmeric, salt and pepper to taste, and about a half a tablespoon of fresh chopped thyme. Fresh chopped thyme. And then we've got an egg for egg wash that'll go on top of our pastry crust, which we made earlier and is linked up here in another video. So we'll get started over here on the stove in just a second, and we'll see you there. Okay, so we've heated our pan, kind of on medium high. We will add our chicken, and we'll get it all cooked up. Now this will take, maybe 5 minutes or so. I won't make you watch the whole thing. So we'll come back in a minute when this chicken is cooked. I will add a little bit of salt and a little bit of pepper while this chicken is cooking. I always want to season as you go. So we'll be back here in just a minute with our nicely cooked chicken and continue with the rest of our recipe. Now that our chicken is cooked, we're going to transfer it, get it out of this pan for a minute, transfer it over to a bowl so that we can get our onions softened and our veggies done. We could do this with the chicken in the pan, but it's much better to do this kind of separately. We're just putting this chicken back into the same bowl it came from. I'm not worried about the fact that there was raw chicken in here because this is going to be cooked when we're finished. So, chicken comes out. Our butter goes in the pan. And we're going to use this butter, of course, to form the basis of our sauce. Bring all the richness of butter to our chicken pot pie. But more importantly for now, it's going to soften our onions, our carrots, and our celery. These veggies, I'm stuck here. These veggies will cook down here until the onion is translucent and the rest of the vegetables start to soften. Again, this will be about 3 minutes. So we'll come back when these are ready for the next step. So it's been about 3 minutes. Our vegetables are starting to soften nicely. Now we will add our chicken back in. And at this point, we will add in our flour, which of course is going to thicken this up and make a nice sauce. Now we don't want it to taste like flour. So before we add anything else, we will cook out this flour taste. And that'll just take a minute here. This is obviously forming a roux. And of course it gets nicely coated on all of the vegetables and the chicken, this process. I haven't added the peas yet because I don't want them to turn mushy, which they will do if they cook in the pan. So we'll add those later. So now that this is started to thicken up, we'll add in our chicken stock. Again, this is homemade chicken stock. And then we'll let this come up to a simmer. And it will start to thicken as it comes up to a simmer. So this will take just a minute here. So now that we've come up to a simmer, we'll add in our turmeric. Our thyme. And a little more salt and pepper. I'm probably not using more than a teaspoon of salt. You can obviously salt to your taste. So we're going to turn down the heat. We will take a little taste here. Oh yes, the seasonings are nice. So we're going to turn this basically off. Now we'll add our frozen peas. And our whipping cream. Give this a careful stir. And we are ready for our pie crust. We will let it cool down just a little bit, and then we'll meet you back over on the counter where we'll put our crust on. All right, so our pastry dough has sat in the refrigerator for about an hour and a half. And it is in great shape. Now you remember earlier I did say if you didn't have a food processor, you can use a pastry cutter. You make this with a pastry cutter very easily. I just like using the toys. So now we're going to roll this out so that it fits on our pie. Now we don't want it to stick, even though we've got this silicone mat. It's important for this operation that it doesn't stick. So we're going to put a little flour down. And we're going to flour our roller. So now we'll just roll it back onto our chicken pot pie. Now if we were doing this into a pan for making a pie tin, then the same process would apply. So now all we're going to do here is we're just going to pinch pinch this. I'm not even going to trim it because you see we came very close to the size of our pan here. There's not enough extra crust, pie crust here to make any difference. So all we're doing is we're just pinching it over here a little bit on the edge. You could do a fancy scalloped edge if you had more crust, but we don't. So it's actually the perfect amount. The second half of our crust still in the refrigerator, and it can actually go into the freezer if you'd like. Now all we're going to do here is we're going to poke a few holes in it so that it vents while we're cooking. Otherwise it will explode, and we certainly don't want that. We'll go into a 375-degree oven on top of a baking tray so that if there is any spillover, it's not on the floor of the oven and I don't get in trouble for making the oven any more dirty than I normally do. So it'll go in that 375-degree oven for 25 to 30 minutes. I will cover it for the first 10 minutes with a tint of aluminum foil just to keep this from browning too much. It's not a required step, but I like to do that. So we'll see you back here in about 30 minutes with our finished pie. Whoops, almost forgot a step. We'll gently brush this with egg wash. It's just one egg with a couple tablespoons of water. And gently, because this liquid in here is already hot, this crust is getting very soft already. Just gently brush it with the egg wash, which will give it a nice sheen when it comes out. But gently, very gently. Okay, now we really are ready for the oven. So it's out of the oven, smells terrific. I'm not going to actually do a taste test out of the pan at the moment because it's still too hot. I will be serving up a portion for dinner, which I will take a picture of and include on this video. Look, I hope you've enjoyed this chicken pot pie with homemade, easy to make pastry crust. Again, the pastry crust link is up here. There's no excuse not to make your own. It's very, very straightforward. Look, chicken pot pie is a great meal. You can make it with leftover chicken or turkey. I've even made it with beef. I guess we call it beef pot pie. When I do that, I use beef stock, of course, instead of chicken stock. If you've enjoyed this video, please subscribe and follow the channel and like it and share it with your friends and comment down below. I'm pretty sure I'll get some comments about not putting a bottom crust on it. I don't find the bottom crust to be attractive in a chicken pot pie, but you could certainly do that if you wished. Obviously, if you're going to put a bottom crust on it, you would want to blind bake that crust in another pan, add the sauce, put the lid on it, and then cook it again for 25 to 30 minutes in the oven. We will talk about blind baking on another episode, show you how to do that. In the meantime, this has been Tim Can Cook. I hope you've enjoyed it.